Yo, what is up guys? Delboy here, aka Blue Collar Sports TV. Hopefully you guys are doing well. If you're new here, smash that like, hit subscribe, all of that good stuff. So this video really is a quick preview and prediction for Dereck Chisora versus Joseph Parker. This fight goes down on the 1st of May, takes place in the UK at the Manchester Arena, and it will be on Sky Sports box office in the UK and DAZN in the USA. Now, while I quite like this fight in itself, I have to say I don't think this fight is pay-per-view worthy on its own without a really strong undercard, and the undercard that's been announced so far is not close to being strong in my opinion, so I don't really deem this as pay-per-view worthy. Nevertheless, the fight on its own is relatively interesting, and yeah, I am somewhat looking forward to it, so I'll do a quick preview and prediction. Now, let's briefly break down the tale of the tape. We shall start with Joseph Parker. He has a record of 28 wins, 2 defeats, 0 draws. 21 of those 28 wins coming by way of knockout. Dereck Chisora has a record of 32 wins, 10 defeats, 0 draws, and 23 of those 32 wins come by way of knockout. Joseph Parker is listed as 6'4", with a 76-inch reach, whereas Dereck Chisora is listed as 6'1.5", with a 74-inch reach. So Joseph Parker is the taller, longer guy. He's got a 2.5-inch height advantage and a 2-inch reach advantage, and I do believe that could actually play a factor in this fight. We've seen Dereck Chisora in the past struggle with taller, longer guys who can move a bit, and maybe Joseph Parker can take advantage of that. Joseph Parker is still only 29 years old, whereas Dereck Chisora is 37 years old, so going into this fight, maybe Chisora across the board has fought better competition, but at the end of the day, he's 37 years old, taken a lot of beatings, and I think eventually that's going to catch up with him. So yeah, he's maybe more experienced, but I actually think the freshness of Joseph Parker could be more of a factor in this fight. And let's be honest, it's not like Joseph Parker has fought poor competition. He's fought Joshua, he's fought Dillian Whyte, he's fought Carlos Takam, Andy Ruiz, Hughie Fury, so Joseph himself has fought tough competition. And yeah, while Dereck's had a few more fights, I don't really think that extra experience is going to mean much in this fight, to be honest. And for the record, both guys are orthodox fighters. Now the tale of the tape is out of the way, let's break down how we think this fight's going to go, what I believe each guy should do, and then at the end of this video, I will make my official pick in this fight. I guess we shall start with Dereck Chisora, who I'm presuming is the underdog. I've not checked the odds, but I'm presuming that. We all know what Dereck Chisora is about these days. He's a strong, rugged pressure fighter who's got a good chin, he likes to come forwards, and he'll try and make it a really rough night for you. He'll get on your chest, throw those overhands, use the shoulder, use the elbows, he'll get a bit dirty, and ultimately his game plan really is to make it a real rough night for you. That's what Dereck is about, and that is exactly the style that he needs to use in this fight. When you look at Joseph Parker, yes, the guy's more naturally talented. I think he's a better technician. He's got quicker hands, quicker feet. He's a better combination puncher. Technically, I think Joseph Parker is on another level to Dereck Chisora. But one of the main criticisms Joseph Parker has had, especially when he's reached world level, is the lack of a killer instinct and the fact that maybe he's a bit too nice in the ring. It's almost like he doesn't have that fighter's instinct at times, that mean streak. And if that is true and you don't have that, Dereck Chisora is one of the worst guys to fight because he has that in abundance. So for me, Dereck in this fight, he just needs to be himself. He needs to apply that pressure and he needs to make it rough on Joseph Parker. And I want to see him apply the same sort of pressure that he applied on Alexander Usyk, because if he applies that sort of pressure on Joseph Parker, I wouldn't be shocked if he actually broke Joseph Parker. One thing I liked about Chisora in that fight, at times he was actually coming forwards behind a jab. One thing we're not really used to seeing from Dereck Chisora. I think that will actually stand him in good stead in this fight. Dereck can move his head, so try and implement a bit of head movement while coming forwards. Traditionally, Joseph Parker's best punches are his straight punches, so the jab and the straight right hand. Try and come in at an angle with a bit of head movement, maybe at a side on profile, and come in behind that jab. One thing I've noticed under David Haye, Dereck has actually seemed to be improving his boxing skills just a little bit. Nothing too crazy, but I've seen more of a jab. I've seen a little more head movement like he used to do way back in the day. And I think he needs to utilise that in this fight while he's coming forwards. And, apart from that, just be Dereck Chisora. There's not really a scientific approach for Chisora when he fights. We know what he's about. We know what he's good at. And he needs to do that in this fight. And he needs to be sufficiently motivated going into this fight. So guys like David Haye, his training team around him, need to make sure he's sufficiently motivated going into this fight, because Dereck's one of those guys where if he's not motivated, he can really stink the joint out, and he can be rather ordinary and easy to outbox. We saw that, for example, in the Ajit Kabayel fight. Dereck went into that fight not really respecting Kabayel, and as a result it really affected his performance. He looked terrible in that fight and he got outboxed. Even in certain wins, go back and look at the Senad Gashi fight, didn't really take Gashi all that seriously, and yeah, Dereck won the fight, but he looked rather ordinary doing it. So, that's another thing going into this fight. I've noticed that Dereck, well, what he's put out in the media at least, it kind of indicates that he doesn't really respect Joseph Parker. And when Dereck doesn't really have respect for you as an opponent, that can be the time when he kind of lays an egg and stinks the joint out. So, Dereck needs to see Joseph as a legitimate threat and a world-class fighter. He needs to really get his back up and, be motivated for this fight, because that's half a battle with someone like Dereck Chisora. So yeah, we know what he needs to do. He needs to apply that pressure, but also he needs to be mentally right and mentally prepared for Joseph Parker. So that's what I believe Dereck needs to do in this fight. Nothing too scientific. As for Joseph Parker, as I mentioned earlier, for me he is the better technical boxer, and on top of that he has the physical attributes going into this fight. He's got the longer reach, he's a taller guy. Without doubt, he's more athletically gifted of the two, faster hands, faster feet, etc. And he needs to utilise those attributes in this fight. To me, Joseph Parker, I think he would be best suited to box and move. I'm not really sure meeting Dereck Chisora head on is the best idea. I think he needs to try and make Dereck Chisora chase this fight. We saw in the Anthony Joshua fight, Joseph Parker, when he moves, actually has quite quick feet. The only thing in that fight, he wasn't throwing punches. He needs to utilise that sort of movement in this fight, but obviously with that movement he needs to be a lot more active with it. Primarily he needs to be boxing behind the jab and everything off the jab and move away from Dereck Chisora's power hand, his power shot, which is the overhand right. Try and keep Dereck resetting, try and keep Dereck turning. Dereck really isn't the greatest at punching on the front foot while he's moving forwards. He kind of needs to set his feet, get you trapped against the ropes, get you stationary where you're trading with him to really land his effective power shots. So Joseph really needs to make sure that he's keeping Dereck turning, keeping him off balance, keeping him occupied, so Dereck really can't generate those same sort of power shots as he usually would if you're stationary. And yeah, Joseph in this fight needs to make sure that his back is not on the ropes. He needs to keep that to a minimum, try and keep this fight in the centre of the ring, and basically make it a boxing match. Box behind the jab, box behind the straight punches, the 1-2, and ultimately try not to get involved with Dereck Chisora too much. Obviously there are going to be times when Dereck actually has success and gets on top of Joseph Parker, but in those moments Joseph can't afford to shy away. He does need to fire back, and he does need to score shots in those exchanges, in those moments. He can't afford to go in a shell and enable Dereck to have that sort of fight. If Dereck does get on the inside, he does get on your chest, try and throw back, try and be proactive, and make Dereck realise that, you're not going to break me, you're not going to drag me into that sort of fight, you're not going to make me go into my shell. Even if you get to the inside, there's shots coming back. And Joseph is explosive, he is fast, he does have decent timing, and he's got decent power, so maybe in those moments Joseph can actually catch Dereck with something big. And in general, there are times when Joseph will actually need to set his feet and try and let go of some heavy punches. Yeah, primarily I think that Joseph needs to be fleet of foot in this fight and box off a move, box off a turn, and don't set his feet. But at times I think Joseph needs to make sure that Dereck realises that, I can hurt you, I can crack you when I set my feet, when I commit to my punches, and I want to see that from the outside. Joseph's got a real quick 1-2. At times I want to see Joseph really sit down on that combination, hard jab, hard quick right hand behind it, And again, don't just try and frustrate Dereck Chisora by keeping him turning and being elusive, but also try and hurt the guy to make him realise that, you know what, yeah, this guy's super awkward, he's super frustrating, but when he actually tries to set his feet, he can hurt me. You know, it's up to Joseph Parker to really discourage Dereck Chisora in this fight. We all know what Dereck's going to do. Joseph knows what Dereck's going to do. It's about offsetting that and minimalising the pressure of Dereck Chisora, and he needs to try and make it redundant. We know what Dereck's going to do. Dereck's not going to go out there and box on the back foot and do something completely different. We know what Dereck's going to do, and so does Joseph, so he needs to prepare for that. And another thing for Joseph Parker in this fight, he needs to try and make this fight as clear as possible in regards to the winner. If you go back and watch that Alexander Usyk fight, to me those scorecards were way too close. I think Dereck got way too much credit on the scorecards. Dereck's the UK fighter, you know, he's the name in the UK. Parker's basically the B-side coming over here. So Joseph needs to make this fight as clear as possible. He needs to win clear rounds and try and make the margin as big as possible so he doesn't get robbed on the scorecards. It's certainly a possibility. So, you know, it's a tough fight to call because Dereck's always kind of hard to predict what sort of mood he's going to be in. And obviously now he's getting to the point where we don't really know what's left. 37 years old, a lot of hard fights. And Joseph Parker himself, you know, he's not turned in a good performance for quite some time. He's looked rather lackluster in recent fights. And, you know, we really do question his fighting desire and what sort of dog he's got in him. So, to me, this is a hard fight to call, given where both guys are at in their careers. But when I look at it in a pure head-for-head basis, both guys at their very best, I do believe Joseph Parker is a couple of levels above Dereck Chisora. You know, I think he's a better boxer. He's taller and longer. Athletically, he's more gifted. I even think he's got a better chin now. So, I am picking Joseph Parker in this fight. I would say Joseph Parker wins this fight on points. Probably a close points decision, a close unanimous decision, maybe a majority decision, who knows, even a split decision. But my official pick in this fight is Joseph Parker on points. I don't think this fight's going to end in a knockout. You know, Dereck himself has a pretty good chin. Not quite as good as it used to be, but still pretty good. And Joseph Parker, of course, has always showed a good set of whiskers. So I don't really see anybody getting knocked out in this fight. Though I could see this fight going either way. But my official prediction is Joseph Parker in a close points win. What about you guys? Who are you picking for this fight? A lot of people out there are picking Dereck Chisora, and I can certainly see why, given Joseph Parker's recent performances, but I just, in terms of ability, I think Joseph should win this fight, to be honest. I think he's got the tools, I think he's got the attributes to win this fight. It's just really down to that mentality, isn't it? That's really Joseph Parker's weak point, in my opinion. But we'll see what happens. Share your thoughts below, share your predictions below. Beanie Guy Del Boy, peace.